Welcome to Bridging the Gap, presented by the Dialogue Studio at Greenwood. This podcast was created to make space for the conversations that communities often need most, but seldom have. Honest conversations. Conversations rooted in listening, understanding, accountability, and the belief that progress begins when people are willing to sit down together and speak openly. Produced through the Dialogue Studio at Greenwood, this series explores the relationship between institutions and the communities they serve, while creating room for meaningful dialogue around trust, public safety, leadership, and shared responsibility. In this episode, local community leader Jonathan Townsend sits down with Tulsa Police Department Deputy Chief Mark Warmenhauser for a candid discussion about communication, transparency, historical tensions, and the work required to build stronger connections between law enforcement and the Black community. These conversations may not always be easy, but they are necessary. This is Bridging the Gap.
Like, everybody's podcasted about everything. Like, you don't have to have any substance at all to have one or to have a lot of views. Like, you know, what we're doing is, it's not about competing for views with everybody else or trying to, simply entertain at all. But we wanted to give a space for people to be able to, gather this information, because there are a lot of people in our community who want to know, why you guys do the things you do, why you make the decisions that you make, or have the strategies that you have to care. And many of them, there's a lot that they do understand, and there's some things that they don't. So this would be a space for that. But again, the conversations that you and I were having, we were like, it would be awesome. How good would it be to have a public setting for that? So, I kind of wanted to touch on that too, as far as the rhyme and reason, as to why we're here. Because another thing that we discovered through those workshops that we've been having over the last year or so was that there's still a disconnect. Like, we're talking a lot, I give you guys some kudos, I got kudos from the group that we had. But at the same time, there was a lot of things that people were still either suspicious about or had legitimate critiques about. Whatever the reason is, there was still some disconnect. And I would like to ask, like, what are some of the reasons for some disconnects? And when I say disconnects, I'm talking about, like, information as it flows out, maybe from you all or about you all. We kind of talked about some of the media outlets already. And then by the time it gets to the general public, it's not received the way that maybe things transpire, or for whatever reason, it's not interpreted the way that you guys thought.
Yeah. So I kind of want to start off with that coffee shop conversation just real quick. And so, and I know these are going to be ongoing, and I want to talk to people about the success of the little victories, right? Like this is a little victory kicking off today. And when I was division commander over Mingo Valley Division, which is basically all of our east side, large Hispanic population, I was invited by a community leader to go on Spanish radio every week and go direct with people. And I made that commitment. And once a week, we are on Spanish radio, and that has continued. That started in June of 2020, in the height of all kinds of everything going on. And 6 years later, we're still doing it. And it's made a difference. We've been invited into congregations when something big in the Hispanic community comes up, whether it's immigration, some law, or policing. We've made those connections, and so we are able to go direct and talk as Tulsa police officers of relax. We got you. We're here to protect people and make sure nobody's victimized. And it was because of the little victory of being invited into Spanish-speaking radio and going direct.
Now,
yes.
And when you first acknowledged that to me, over a year ago too, I love the fact that you looked at it that way. Everybody's needs are valid. Everyone's needs need to be addressed, but everyone's needs are not always the exact same.
Correct. And I think we see that as an opportunity that there are some things that cut across all all communities. But if we're not talking about the needs and the relationship of the Black community and the police department, then and we're trying to generalize it, then we're missing that opportunity. And so I think that's what a huge part of this is talking about the specific needs of a specific community and how the police department can make that connection better. And then going towards the information and the misunderstanding, I think it probably starts with two things. One, has the police department in the past done everything right for and to the Black community? No. And so historical wrongdoings are factual. But then it also becomes this connection divide. And so then it just grew and grew and grew. And so instead of when something happens, everybody knowing, oh, hey, no, I trust this person. Let me talk to this person. Let me find out more. Like there is in a lot of other communities, there's not as strong of one, and it's not as prolific in the Black community with the police department. And I think that's what we're trying to grow here too. But there's also just an attempt for those who are working hard, who have that great connection with the police department in the community, there's people who attempt to divide that. And that doesn't benefit anybody. And so I think if more and more connections can be made, then when something happens on the police department, everybody will be able to have that connection and understand either, oh, hey, yep, the police are acknowledging that something went wrong and they're looking into it and investigating it. This was okay. There's more to the story than what's actually than what some people are trying to drive that narrative. And I think we are obviously a microcosm of the entire country. It's easier to get clicks and likes of negativity and divide than it is to come together and get clicks and likes of positivity.
Yeah, I think that, I'm thinking back to the phone call that you gave me. It might have been, like I said, maybe a little over a year ago when you re-invited me back to some of these conversations and in this work as far as advocating for the African American community and working in support of the police department and the relations with us. That's the same energy that you had on the phone that day. Like you hit me up and you were just like, hey, we got some things that we need to work on and some things we want to acknowledge. And, we're not coming at this as, experts on all things Black or Black public safety. And we want to bring you in as someone who can kind of help us facilitate some of these discussions and arrive at some destinations that we really want to arrive at with the community. So yeah, I've always appreciated, your humility and also the departments for realizing that, sometimes you do have to look into the mirror a little bit and work some things out. And one of the best ways of doing that is by sometimes inviting other people in. So I really appreciate that. And I think that's going to help build trust. And that's kind of what I wanted to ask next, which is, what does transparency really look like to you? And what are some of the best ways that we continue to build that trust in our community?
So transparency, I think, starts with obviously making sure everyone knows what our policies are. There's a lot of agencies that are not transparent about their policies, their use of force policy, their rules and regulations. There's 18,000 law enforcement agencies in this country, and some of them are operating wildly reckless still. And so it starts with everybody being able to turn towards policy and look at that and know that those policies are rooted in best practices across the country. Then it's also knowing that, hey, if someone makes a complaint, that we take it serious.
Thank you for listening to Bridging the Gap, presented by the Dialogue Studio at Greenwood. We hope today's conversation offered not only perspective, but a reminder that meaningful change often begins with the willingness to listen, engage, and stay in conversation with one another. You can listen to future episodes on Spotify and all major podcast platforms. To learn more about the Dialogue Studio at Greenwood and explore additional conversations and community initiatives, visit thedialoguestudio.org. Until next time, thank you for being part of the dialogue.